I've been waiting for you.
Hello everyone, it's BYG Agami back with another video. Today I'm joined with Dimsy's Domain as we discuss the latest character that was revealed from the Weekly Jump for Friday in Japan, and please introduce yourself.
Yo, what's good? It's Dimsy of Dimsy's Domain, and let's talk about this very tricky female duelist.
Yeah, very tricky. So on my channel we're going to be breaking down the female duelist, and on Dimsy's channel, Dimsy and I are going to be breaking down Onizuka Go.
Go Onizuka is going to be a topic of discussion, and that's going to complement this video, so make sure you check it out.
But what I find interesting about the female duelist is that there's a lot on stake for her, since there hasn't been a very relevant Yu-Gi-Oh female duelist since Duel Monsters, in my personal opinion, and that's My Valentine. Even Taya was lacking in the character department, but for the V-Jump Code of Duelist set, we got information about the female duelist's deck, and is that she goes by the Trickster deck name. Now, when you think of Trickster and when you think of Yu-Gi-Oh decks, the deck usually relate towards the character's personality, and what I think is that the female duelist is actually going to be a deceiving character in the sense of she might get introduced in school, she might have a motive, we don't know yet, and when you look at her design, as well, she's very bland. But in the V-Jump translations as well, it states that in the VR world she comes off as an explosive person, but in the real life world she's very bland. So what I'm thinking is that since we know information about Yusaku being a hacker, since we know information that Yusaku is very good at reading people, what if the female character was the first person that Yusaku was not able to read, just because of how bland she is, and possibly when Yusaku goes into the VR world, he sees the female duelist and is actually very much shocked. So Dims, you want to give your thoughts on that?
I completely agree with that, purely because of the fact that if you look at her design is so simplistic. It's actually, you overlook how simplistic it is when you compare it to what Yu-Gi-Oh has become. Look at Yu-Gi-Oh designs in recent times. You got all these fancy hair. If anything, the design of Yu-Gi-Oh, people are more interested to see how the hair looks more than the actual character design, the attire, etc. Let's talk about what she has on stake. You kind of touched upon this, how for all female characters in Yu-Gi-Oh, she is it's a bit of a risky one, because as you said earlier, one of the main and most potent female focused characters in Yu-Gi-Oh was of course My Valentine. Now if you look at GX, there is a possibility that this girl, this Aoi, could be something similar to Alexis Rose, and I hope she doesn't become like Alexis Rose, who is the goody school student. If we go to 5Ds, there is a possibility for her to be a badass like Akiza. Like, she looks like a very innocent person but then has those psychic powers, so very similar. This character could be living a double life, and I do agree with you. I think she is living somewhat of a double life. If we, let's say, fast forward to Yu-Gi-Oh Arc 5, they tried to focus on Yuzu and all the other bracelet girls to be the main focus for these female characters. However, they kind of fell flat somewhat on their face, so hopefully they don't do that same mistake and they learn from the mistakes. And I completely agree with the fact that she may be, due to her simple nature, very deceiving, and Yusaku probably fails to read her.
Now, one thing I want to talk about that you brought up when you were just talking is that each character had a good role up until one point. Now, Yuzu hasn't dueled since the Synchro arc, right?
Yeah.
And Taya, Asuka, as well as Akiza all had good peaks in terms of their character development in Yu-Gi-Oh, but sort of dropped down. Now, what I want for this character is that I want her to stay very relevant. And the fact is, when you read off her monsters and the effects, they're pretty damn broken. Did you actually read the monster?
Yes, they have. They are very good. They float. The terminology in Yu-Gi-Oh is that they float. So they kind of avoid being destroyed. And also with the new fairy archetype for this trickster type of deck, it's really good, because even other cards such as the Star Seraph monsters, which are they've kind of dipped in popularity, but they will be really helpful due to the fact that they're very easy to special summon as well as getting a draw in. It will give a lot of other decks more relevance, and they can be intertwined with this Trickstar deck. So I think that her deck is really good. It's going to be somewhat competitive. It's very similar to the other decks in Arc 5. For example, you got Rin, who has the Lunar Light deck, and these are all good decks.
Yeah, very light as well, and same with Taya. She had a very light-esque deck, because during episode 13, when it was the Bakura duel, each character chose their favorite great cards, and actually Teia's card was it was like a light magician, something along those lines.
That's the thing, they're trying to emphasize the whole fact that, okay, it's very pure, girly, with the whole fairy aspect of it. With Yuzu, they had the melodious diva, but also that kind of goes into the fact that they were focusing on a certain aspect regarding these bracelet girls, but the point being, each of these girls had good, decent decks. So this deck so far, we know nothing. Remember, we can't comment due to the fact that the Link format has not been out in practice, it's not out in the OCG, and it's definitely not out in the TCG. So it looks like from face value that, okay, they're not kind of nerfing her deck. It looks like a decent deck from the very little information we have from the cards. I think that there's a lot of potential, and it's mainly stemming from the whole design aspect. Look how simple she looks.
Her design is so simple. It's just bland, especially for recent Yu-Gi-Oh female designs as well. Usually they have like funky hair as well as just funky costumes. She's very much similar to Isaku's outfit. Her outfit's very much similar to Isaku's, where it's just
they
bland.
go to the same school, I guess.
Yeah,
so there
and
is that.
I want to read off the bio. It states that she is Yusaku's classmate who attends the same school as Yusaku. She may look quiet at first, but she is a charisma duelist that is very active in the VR space. Now, what's interesting is that, like Yusaku, she doesn't like to stand out. Now, for Yusaku is that he doesn't want to stand out, in my opinion, simply because he seems like a confident person. In all the images that we got, he's always had that very serious face. We haven't seen him smile yet. I actually made a render of him smiling. That's how serious he is. But as for Iowa, or Ayui, it's that Ayui. Yeah, it's a confusing name. It's that she may look quiet at first sight. First sight, guys, that's a key word, first sight. So when a person's very deceiving, they come off as quiet. You know what they always say? It's that you always have to look out for the quiet people, and Yusaku's a person to look out for, as well as Iowa.
They're the two complete opposites, aren't they? So they're both probably quiet at the first initial impression, but then you find out that each behind the facade that they're holding in, they are a complete different character. And I just want to mention, look at Aigami, look at Diva from Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimensions. They would say, oh, who's that quiet new kid, whatever it may be. He looked very introverted, and then you find out he was a bit of an insane person. So there is that.
Yeah, but that was due to him using his magical powers as well. What Aigami basically did was he used his powers to manipulate and sort of cloud the people at Domino High School's memories.
But that's the thing, it's the whole deceiving factor. So
the whole deceiving factor.
What we relate deception is, we relate deception to a villainous activity, a villainous mindset. So you know what, we did speak about this off air, and you did mention it earlier, but she could be the first villain, she could be the first antagonist, but most importantly, I believe, and you believe as well, that she is the first person that Yusaku cannot read.
Yep. And talking about the first villain, actually the big buff dude named Go might be the first villain, and me and Dimsy were actually discussing that off air. So if you want to check that video, you can check it down below in the description. Leave a like, check out the Yu-Gi-Oh! Facebook and Twitter fan page for the fastest news about Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS.
Join the community, it's a really good community.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.